Okay, so let's have a quick look at the quadratic formula, how we derive it, how we use it, and what the quadratic formula basically means. Okay, so let's just look at a basic monic quadratic equation. X squared plus 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. Okay, so this is an equation because we have an equal sign. It's monic because the leading coefficient is 1. And we're going to solve this. Let's solve it 3 ways. Let's use basic factorization. So I'm hoping we can all see that this factors just like this. It's not a factorization lesson. And I'm hoping you can all expand that this expression to get the above quadratic, and we can see there that the solutions are x minus 1 twice, and what that says is this is minus 1, 1, and with a solution of negative 1, that just means it crosses or touches the x-axis at that point. Okay, so we've done factorization. Let's do completing the square. So we've got x. We add on half the coefficient of b. We subtract half the coefficient of b squared at the end. Okay, so I hope you can see that we are left with x plus 1 squared. So there we get twice. We can use the quadratic formula. We compare this to ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Well, using the quadratic formula, then we get 2 plus equal to 1. We get minus 2 plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is 4. Subtract 4ac, which is 4 all over 2a. And I hope that you can see that this is just simply this, which is negative 1. Okay, so let's have a look how we derive the quadratic formula. I just want to show that if we have x, let's go minus b x plus b, this gives a difference of 2 squares, so we get x squared minus b squared. It's going to give us 2 roots. B, negative b. So this is what we're doing when we're finding roots to equations. We're finding the intercept on the x-axis. Okay. So in order to complete the square, we need the leading coefficient to be 1. That is to say that the equation is monic. So the general formula of quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Well, we don't know whether a is 1 or not, so let's divide throughout by a. So we get x squared plus b over a x plus c, which is equal to 0. Okay, so let's begin completing the square on this. So let's split the screen enough. Okay, so we open up the brackets. We add on half the coefficient of b, close the bracket, square it. Now that we've added on half the coefficient of b, we subtract half the coefficient of b squared plus c. Let's do some algebra then. So we get x plus b all over 2a minus b squared over 4a squared plus c, should be a. Okay, there should be an a here. Okay, so let's take all this to the other side. So we're left over 2a squared. So we get b squared over 4a squared minus c over a. Now we need to do a bit of algebra here. We've got x plus b over 2a squared, and we need to add this algebraic fraction. So we need to multiply numerator and denominator of the c over a by 4a. So we get 4a squared, and we get 4a here. Okay, so we have b squared minus 4ac all over 4a squared. Okay, so we're getting closer to our quadratic formula. So we square root both sides. So if you square root a square, that knocks out the square. So we now have plus or minus. Okay, well, the square root of 4a squared is 2a. I think you can all see that. 2a times 2a is 4a squared. So the root of 4a squared is 2a. So that sorts out the numerator. So we have x plus b over 2a is equal to plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So let's take this to the other side. We've got b over 2a plus or minus this lovely thing here, b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Let's tidy this up. The denominator is the same, so we get x is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And there we have our quadratic formula. Hope this helps.